Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Friday the 1st of March 2019. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using the handle @ds_Pepperstone. Okay, let's kick off as ever with a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. Not the busiest session in terms of major moves over the last 24 hours, it must be said. One or two key points still worth pointing out though. First of all, Kiwi dollar, the New Zealand currency adding 0.12% against the US currency overnight. The boot was on the other foot though, as far as dollar yen was concerned, with the dollar ascendant against the Japanese yen and taking 0.32% off of the Japanese currency in the last 24 hours. Elsewhere, one that we don't look at perhaps as often as we should, dollar ruble. The dollar on the slide slightly here against the ruble, down by 0.25%, 0.24%. But I think that's probably Friday profit taking. If we look at the weekly move, we can see the dollar had been making gains against the Russian currency, so some book squaring I think there, most likely ahead of the weekend. Dollar index for its part trading at 96.25, barely moved on the session, up 0.10% shortly before we recorded the video, and having a quiet end to the week. Plenty of data out later today as we'll see those, so we could yet see some fireworks before the end of the day is out. Okay, what's on the calendar then? Events that may move the markets today. Well, we've already had a fair bit of data before the video is recorded. First thing this morning at 1:15 a.m. GMT, we had a speech from the Fed's Jerome Powell. We'll look at that in a bit more detail momentarily. We also had Caixin manufacturing PMI data out of China for the month of February, and again we'll examine that a bit closer in due course. To come at 7:30 GMT, we'll have retail sales data out of Switzerland for the month of January. That's followed at 8:55 GMT by unemployment data out of Germany for the month of Feb. And at the same time, probably the more important data, the market manufacturing PMI for February from Germany as well. At 9 o'clock, we'll get a chance to look at unemployment rates in Italy in the month of January. And then at 9:30, we jump back over the channel to the UK for market manufacturing PMI from Britain for the month of February. At 10 a.m, all eyes turn to Europe and the Eurozone for the unemployment rate for January and the release of CPI data, both core and non-core, for the month of February. And then we pause until 13:30 this afternoon. We hop over the Atlantic for core personal consumption, personal income data out of the USA for the month of December. That's accompanied by a GDP read from Canada for Q4. And then we pause again until 14:30 when we'll have manufacturing PMI out of Canada for the month of February. 15 minutes later, similar data, market manufacturing PMI from the USA for Feb. And then at 1500, we'll have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey Index for the month of February. And then perhaps the pick of the US data at 1500 as well, the ISM Manufacturing PMI read for February. It'd be very interesting to contrast that against the the market PMI figure published slightly earlier. And to finish the day at 17:50, the second of the day's central banker speeches, this one from Fed member Bostic. Okay then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. First of all then, China's Feb Caixin manufacturing PMI beats forecast, coming in at 49.9 versus an estimate of 48.5, and also came in ahead of January's 48.3. The data also came in ahead of official figures that were released earlier in the week. So suggestions of a softer landing perhaps for Chinese manufacturers from this unofficial survey data. Meanwhile, Chinese equities were boosted by that news and by an increased weighting in MSCI emerging market indices that was announced overnight. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that the US economy was in a good place. But he also said that he was concerned that some US citizens were being left behind and not being included in the improvement in circumstances. And back to Asia, and Pakistan freed a captured Indian fighter pilot in a gesture aimed at diffusing tensions between the two countries and de-escalating the shooting match that's kicked off in Kashmir. Okay then, food for thought, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Why not think about this? We've spoken recently and quite regularly about US debt sustainability, but have focused less on debts elsewhere in the globe. Morgan Stanley have looked at debt across the globe, highlighting China as an area of potential concern if easing and stimulus that's anticipated from the PBOC and the Beijing government reignites a debt boom in the country. And a couple of charts here on the right hand side. The first one's showing overall debt growth and nominal GDP growth in developed markets back to December 03 to the end of the year, and then a similar chart for China. Now, what's interesting about the chart for China is, yes, we saw an aggressive growth in debt into sort of the first decade of this century, but subsequent to that, despite what you might think, overall debt growth in China has been trending lower, and more recently trending below GDP growth. What's most interesting to me is what the next trend will be, and as I say, whether stimulus and easing will encourage people to start borrowing more money, and indeed banks to lend more money, and will we see this blue line pick up even as the GDP line tends downward. Okay, time to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of leverage products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative, and do take the time to read this risk warning thoroughly. Thank you for your time today.